Welcome to History with Herodotus, where we embark on a journey through the ages, uncovering the intricacies of human history and the complexities that have shaped our world. Today, we find ourselves on the cusp of one of the most pivotal naval battles in history, the Battle of Leyte Gulf, a clash of titans that would decide the fate of the Pacific during World War II. This epic confrontation, involving hundreds of ships and thousands of lives, was more than just a military engagement. It was a testament to human ingenuity, bravery, and the unyielding pursuit of victory. As we delve into the events leading up to this monumental battle, let us first set our sights on the broader canvas of World War II. By 1944, the Allies had gained significant momentum against the Axis powers. In Europe, the invasion of Normandy marked a turning point, while in the Pacific, the United States and its allies were incrementally closing in on Japan. The strategic island of Leyte, part of the Philippines, stood as a crucial stepping stone for any force aiming to threaten the Japanese mainland. Its capture would not only deprive Japan of a vital location for air and naval bases, but also strangle supply lines and morale. The seeds of the Battle of Leyte Gulf were sown in the summer of 1944, when Allied forces under the command of General Douglas MacArthur began their campaign to retake the Philippines. This move was part of a larger strategy to secure the Pacific, isolate Japan, and eventually prepare for an invasion of the Japanese homeland. The Philippines, with its strategic ports and airfields, was essential for this plan. However, the Japanese were equally aware of the island's importance and were determined to defend them at all costs. In the months leading up to the battle, both sides engaged in a series of strategic maneuvers. The Allies launched a series of airstrikes against Japanese airfields and naval bases, aiming to weaken the enemy's ability to respond effectively to an invasion. Meanwhile, the Japanese Navy, though depleted from previous battles, planned a desperate gamble to lure the Allied fleet into a trap, using their remaining ships to devastating effect. Admiral Soamu Toyota, commander of the Japanese Combined Fleet, devised a complex plan known as Operation Show-Go. This operation involved dividing the Japanese fleet into several groups, each with a specific role in the impending battle. One group would act as bait, drawing the Allied forces away from Leyte Gulf, while another, more powerful force, would then attack the Allied ships supporting the invasion, hoping to catch them off guard and outnumbered. On the Allied side, Admiral William F. Halsey, Jr., commander of the Third Fleet, was tasked with providing naval support for the invasion of Leyte. His fleet included a formidable array of aircraft carriers, battleships, cruisers, and destroyers. However, Halsey's aggressive nature and his focus on destroying the Japanese Navy would later play a significant role in the unfolding drama. The invasion force, carrying thousands of Allied troops, sailed towards Leyte, escorted by a formidable armada of warships. The Japanese, aware of the impending invasion, put their plan into action. On October 20, 1944, the first waves of Allied troops landed on the beaches of Leyte, marking the beginning of a long and bloody campaign to secure the island. As the Allied troops established their foothold on Leyte, the Japanese Navy set its plan into motion. On October 22, 1944, a Japanese force, known as the Central Force, sailed through the San Bernardino Strait, intending to attack the Allied ships supporting the invasion from the north. Meanwhile, a decoy force, comprising 4 aircraft carriers with limited air power, steamed eastward off the coast of Luzon, aiming to lure Admiral Halsey's Third Fleet away from Leyte Gulf. The Japanese plan was complex and relied on precise timing, but it also contained inherent risks. The Central Force, under the command of Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita, consisted of some of Japan's most formidable warships, including the battleships Yamato and Musashi. However, as Kurita's force approached the San Bernardino Strait, it was detected by American submarines, which promptly alerted Admiral Halsey to the potential threat. On October 23, 1944, the submarine USS Angler torpedoed and sank the Japanese heavy cruiser Atago, killing Admiral Takeo Kurita's chief of staff. This incident led to a temporary disruption in the Japanese command structure, but it did not deter Kurita from proceeding with his mission. As the Central Force navigated the treacherous waters of the San Bernardino Strait, It was ambushed by a group of American submarines and escort carriers known as Taffy 3, which had been stationed off the coast of Samar to provide air support for the Allied invasion. The ensuing battle off Samar, also known as the Battle of Samar, would become one of the most celebrated engagements in naval history. On October 25, 1944, at approximately 6:45 a.m., the Japanese Central Force emerged from the San Bernardino Strait and caught Taffy 3 off guard. The American ships, consisting of 6 escort carriers, 7 destroyers, and 4 destroyer escorts, were vastly outnumbered by the Japanese fleet. Despite being outgunned, the Americans launched a fierce counterattack, employing every available aircraft and ship to harass and delay the Japanese advance. As the battle raged on, the smaller American ships proved remarkably resilient, dodging and weaving between the Japanese salvos. The destroyer USS Johnston, under the command of Lieutenant Commander Ernest E. Evans, engaged the enemy with reckless abandon, launching a series of bold torpedo attacks against the Japanese battleships. Although the Johnston was eventually sunk, its courageous actions helped to slow down the Japanese advance, buying precious time for the rest of Taffy 3 to escape. Meanwhile, Admiral Halsey's Third Fleet had fallen prey to the Japanese decoy plan, chasing after the enemy aircraft carriers off Luzon. This left the Allied ships supporting the invasion at Leyte Gulf vulnerable to attack from Kurita's Central Force. As the day wore on, the Americans found themselves in a desperate fight for survival, with their lightly armed escort carriers and destroyers pitted against some of Japan's most formidable warships. As the day wore on, the Americans continued to harass and delay the Japanese advance, buying precious time for the rest of Taffy 3 to escape. Despite being outgunned, the smaller American ships had managed to hold off the Japanese Central Force, inflicting significant damage on several of Kurita's warships. However, as the battle raged on, it became clear that the Japanese were not going to be easily deterred. The Central Force continued to push forward, intent on attacking the Allied ships supporting the invasion at Leyte Gulf. In a desperate bid to stop the Japanese advance, Admiral Halsey's Third Fleet was recalled from its pursuit of the enemy decoy force off Luzon. The American aircraft carriers, which had been lured away from Leyte Gulf, now rushed back to support their beleaguered comrades. As the Japanese Central Force approached the entrance to Leyte Gulf, it was met with a fierce barrage of air attacks from the returning American carriers. The Japanese warships, already battered and bruised from their earlier encounter with Taffy 3, were unable to withstand the intensity of the American air assault. On October 25, 1944, at around 9:30 a.m., Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita, realizing that his mission was no longer feasible, ordered his Central Force to retreat. The Japanese warships, having suffered significant losses and damage, turned back and sailed away from Leyte Gulf, abandoning their plans to attack the Allied invasion force. The Battle of Leyte Gulf, one of the largest naval battles in history, had finally come to an end. The aftermath of the battle saw both sides assessing the damage and tallying up their losses. The Japanese had lost 4 aircraft carriers, 3 battleships, 10 cruisers, 9 destroyers, and over 10,000 sailors and airmen. The Americans, on the other hand, had lost 1 light carrier, 2 escort carriers, 3 destroyers, and over 2,800 sailors and airmen. Despite the heavy losses on both sides, the Battle of Leyte Gulf marked a decisive victory for the Allies, as it secured the beachhead at Leyte and paved the way for the eventual liberation of the Philippines. As one American sailor reflected on the battle, "We were outgunned, outmanned, and outplanned, but we were not outfought." This sentiment captures the essence of the Battle of Leyte Gulf, which was characterized by bravery, sacrifice, and determination on both sides. Today, the battle is remembered as a testament to the enduring spirit of those who fought in it, and its legacy continues to inspire and educate new generations of historians, scholars, and naval enthusiasts. The Battle of Leyte Gulf also marked a significant turning point in the Pacific War, as it thwarted Japan's last major attempt to challenge Allied supremacy at sea. The battle demonstrated the effectiveness of American carrier-based air power and the importance of coordination and cooperation between different branches of the military. As historian Samuel Eliot Morison noted, The Battle of Leyte Gulf was a classic example of the fleet in being concept, where a powerful naval force, even if not actively engaged, can exert a profound influence on the course of events. In conclusion, the Battle of Leyte Gulf was a pivotal moment in World War II, one that showcased the bravery and sacrifice of those who fought in it. Its legacy continues to shape our understanding of naval warfare and the importance of cooperation and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. That's all for today's history with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.